The Pacific Islands Forum has concluded in Fiji, with Australia applauded for its new short-term targets on emission reduction. Regional leaders want Australia, though, to go harder to limit global warming. Let's bring in Jonathan Lee, live from Suva. Jonathan, good morning again. The Prime Minister is confident that he's addressed the issues of climate and China.
Well, Peter, Anthony Albanese will certainly leave this forum with a spring in his step after showing some deft leadership over the past 48 hours. You're right there in saying that Australia has been roundly applauded for its new mid-term target, 43% emission reduction cut by 2030 on the way to net zero by 2050. But there is also no doubt the Pacific leaders here, deeply concerned about climate change on their region, want to see Australia go further. This morning, Mr Albanese came to a training facility here. It really was an opportunity just to see what was happening and have a chat to the Australian media before heading home. He gave himself a pat on the back, and it's probably deserved.
The relationships that we built at the meeting, I went along, I said I would listen, we did listen. I said I'd show respect, I did show respect. The fact that we had a meeting ended just after 3 p.m, as opposed to argy-bargy about whether climate change was real or not until 10 o'clock at night, which is what occurred on the last occasion, was something that was reflected by all of our Pacific Island friends and leaders who were very positive about Australia's role at the meeting.
Pete, we do wait on the final wording of the communique, exactly what the 16 leaders all collectively agreed to at yesterday's retreat. It's expected to say that climate change remains the greatest existential threat here in the region, that it's a region of geopolitical influence where major powers are seeking to exert their influence. You can read into that China and also America trying to make sure that China stays out of this region as well. But the language around a climate emergency isn't something I've necessarily heard Anthony Albanese say before. It's something we're much more accustomed to hearing the Greens say, who want to see climate targets significantly ratcheted up. Last night when Mr Albanese spoke to the media, he was asked about the agreement of a climate emergency, and this is how he defended Australia's new position.
People have used that term before many times. What I say is that the world's climate emergency is Australia's opportunity. It's a jobs opportunity for Australia. We can be a renewable energy superpower for the world if we just seize that opportunity.
One of the other great focuses here, Pete, has naturally been Solomon Islands. Manasseh Sogavare's recent security pact with China. Our government believes that it's received an agreement from the Solomon Islands that there won't ever be a security base in the region. Now, Mr Sogavare has also pointed out that if that was to happen, it would leave his nation ending up being a target in any conflict. It's also worth remembering the Battle of Guadalcanal in the Second World War, Pete. If any nation in the Pacific understands what it means to have true war on the doorstep, the Solomon Islands certainly does. And I want to give you a quick idea of Chinese money and influence in this region. We just literally came across the road to stand and do an interview with you, across with you. Next to us, China Aid. So it's the Fiji-China Friendship Bridge. It gives you an idea of China's Belt and Road policy and how money flows into this region, into these Pacific nations. Everywhere you look, you find projects with China very enthusiastic about the opportunity to build relations with the Pacific Island nations. We've seen it in other countries. You go around, you often see the Chinese flag flying. There's a lot of money, there's indebtedness in these regions, and China is always very happy to help. Peter.
Yeah, that's interesting. Jonathan, good find. Thank you. We'll talk to you again soon.